You wake up, but the fog never lifts. You look alive, but feel nothing. Maybe it's not burnout, it's disconnection from yourself. Most people think success begins with action, but that's a lie we've been sold. Success doesn't start when you move, it starts when you notice that you've been numb. You know that feeling. You've done everything right, wake up, answer emails, tick off to-dos, but inside, something's flat. Not broken, not loud, just hollow. It's easy to call this burnout. But it's not. It's disconnection from your why, from your direction, from the part of you that once had clarity but hasn't heard from you in a while. Napoleon Hill didn't teach hustle, he taught alignment. He said that clarity of purpose, clear intention, is what fuels everything else. Without it, discipline is forced. With it, discipline becomes identity. You don't need to feel alive to act alive. That's not a quote, that's survival. Discipline is often mistaken for rigidity. But in truth, it's the first whisper from your soul saying, I still believe in you, even when your energy doesn't. Think of a car engine left running in a garage. It hums, it burns fuel, but it goes nowhere. That's what most people call productivity. They're busy, not aligned, active, not alive. The fog you feel, it's not laziness. It's your mind begging for mental clarity, and ignoring it is like turning up the volume on your life while muting your purpose. So what do you do when you feel nothing? You begin anyway. There's a man who wakes up without joy, no dread either, just still. He brushes his teeth, makes his bed, ties his shoes, and runs. Not because he's inspired, but because he made a promise to himself. That promise is discipline. That motion is faith. He's not chasing motivation, he's remembering who he's becoming. Napoleon Hill called this the first step to success, doing the smallest right thing in the face of emotional silence. Not for results, not for applause, but because staying still is no longer an option. And here's the truth. Feeling nothing doesn't mean you're off track. Sometimes it means you're in between stories. One version of you is fading. The next hasn't spoken up yet. And that gap, that's sacred ground. This is where the inner power starts to spark, not because you force it, but because you honor it. Today, don't chase a breakthrough. Don't wait for a sign. Just move, even half an inch, even silently. Because that fog, it doesn't lift all at once. It parts one decision at a time. So if you're here, staring out the window, wondering why nothing feels urgent or exciting anymore, maybe that's the beginning. Maybe this is your mind saying, come back to me, I've got something for you. And maybe, just maybe, your discipline isn't just a habit, it's your spirit refusing to give up. Have you ever felt that kind of fog? What did you do next? Share your moment. It could be the spark someone else needs. This is why Mindset Mastery Hub exists. And here's something people rarely admit. Discipline isn't just about structure. It's a way to create emotional safety. When the world feels uncertain, your habits become anchors. This is why Napoleon Hill emphasized success habits over sheer effort. He understood that the most powerful people aren't always the smartest or most talented. They're the ones who stay consistent through chaos. Even when your mind is clouded, your actions can be clear. That's the power of choosing alignment over adrenaline. And if today is hard, if the fog still lingers, ask yourself, what would the strongest version of me do right now? Then do just that. Not for outcome, but for clarity of self. Remember, you can think and grow rich, but first, you must believe and grow steady. This moment, where you feel nothing, could be the start of everything. Not because the world changes, but because you do. The fog you're feeling? It's not forever, but it is trying to tell you something, that you've outgrown your autopilot, that your mind is asking for more than motion. It's asking for meaning. You don't have to change everything today, just one thing. That first inch forward isn't small, it's sacred. You move through the day, but you don't remember any of it. Surrounded by people, but your mind is miles away. Maybe the problem isn't your energy, it's your direction. There's a kind of silence no one prepares you for. It doesn't scream. It doesn't warn. It just exists, like static behind every conversation, like emptiness beneath every goal. You wake up, you execute, you check things off, but somewhere inside, there's a low hum of detachment. You're doing all the right things, but they don't feel right anymore. That's not failure, that's a signal. Napoleon Hill called it drifting, the slow slide into autopilot living. It's what happens when we forget to ask why we started in the first place. And if you're here, if that resonates, it means you haven't quit yet. That matters. Because the real war isn't against failure, it's against numb persistence. When your direction fades, your discipline must take over. Not as punishment, but as a reminder. This is where most people fall off. They think feelings drive results. But what actually drives transformation is alignment through repetition. When your purpose feels distant, your habits bring it back into view. Success mindset isn't about hyping yourself up. It's about acting through the fog. Because waiting for motivation is just procrastination with better branding. You've had days like this before, haven't you? The world kept moving, and you did too. But inside, you were somewhere else. You showed up. You did the work. No one saw the battle, but you won it anyway. That quiet discipline, that's the foundation of personal responsibility. And when Napoleon Hill said action is the real measure of intelligence, he wasn't talking about busy work. He meant action that aligns with a higher standard, even when no one else knows what you're fighting for. It's easy to confuse burnout with a lack of vision. But what if your exhaustion isn't physical? It's directional. Here's a practice that changes everything. At the start of each day, name your why. Write it, whisper it, feel it, even faintly. Then let your habits do the heavy lifting. This isn't about hype. This is about clarity. That's what builds inner power. And the first time you act without applause, that's when you realize who you truly are. You don't need to announce your comeback. You just need to keep showing up. There's a quote, "Victory belongs to those who act without applause." But it's not just a quote, it's your daily practice. Because success habits aren't born from inspiration. They're born from refusal. Refusal to quit, refusal to wait, refusal to let one foggy morning rewrite the rest of your life. You once completed a small task when no one was watching. That moment was the spark, not because of the task, but because of the choice. And when you add up enough of those silent victories, you stop seeking loud ones. So today, don't ask yourself how you feel. Ask yourself what your standard is, then rise to meet it. Not for the world, for yourself. Because the fire never comes before the first step. It comes after. What do you return to when nothing feels clear? Share that anchor. It might steady someone else too. This is the quiet power we build together at Mindset Mastery Hub. The truth is, most breakthroughs don't look dramatic. They look like you sitting at your desk when you'd rather lie down. They look like choosing reflection over reaction. They look like answering a hard question with silence and letting the answer rise slowly from within. What Napoleon Hill taught us wasn't just about wealth. It was about self-governance, about thinking clearly in a world that wants you distracted. And right now, choosing clarity over comfort is the rarest kind of power. If you want results no one else has, you'll have to walk through routines no one else honors. Every time you show up, when it would be easier not to, you train your subconscious that you can be trusted. And that trust, that's where self-worth starts to rebuild. What if strength isn't loud? It's consistent. Maybe your scars aren't signs of failure. They're proof of survival. You weren't made to obey feelings. You were made to forge through them. There's a moment in every journey where you no longer need to be convinced. Not because everything is clear, but because you've decided that alignment matters more than emotion. That's where real identity is forged. Not in the peaks, but in the patterns. You've heard it before. Motivation is fleeting, but discipline stays. But Napoleon Hill offered a deeper truth. Discipline is remembrance, a daily return to the version of you who made a promise to rise. It's easy to forget this when everything around you pushes for shortcuts. Quick wins, easy routes, surface-level success. But real growth, it's rooted in repetition. Success isn't some moment of glory, it's who you become in the absence of applause. There's a man who rises before dawn. Not because he loves early mornings, but because he honors who he's becoming. He journals for clarity, he walks in silence, he reviews his clear intention. And somewhere along that path, identity becomes unshakable. This is where transformation hides, not in grand gestures, but in the smallest rituals done consistently. That's how success habits are built. Not from energy, but from alignment. You're not tired, you're misaligned. You've been trying to operate on goals without grounding. But once you reconnect with your purpose, even difficult tasks feel different. They feel sacred. Start with one thing, the habit you've abandoned but still think about. The practice that once made you feel strong, not because of the result, but because of how it reminded you who you are. Bring that back, gently, quietly, without pressure. Napoleon Hill taught that you become what you think about. But it's more than thought, it's repetition. You become what you return to again and again, especially when it's hard. And right now, you have a choice. Not to wait for clarity, but to create it through consistency. There was a morning, you remember it, when the rain poured and you walked anyway. No umbrella, no audience, just a quiet vow to yourself. I'm still here. That matters more than you think. You don't need a perfect plan. You need one honest moment with yourself. From there, the structure builds itself, because discipline is self-trust in motion. So let today be about starting small. Write down your intention. Breathe before you speak. Move your body for 10 minutes. None of it is dramatic, but all of it is identity. And if no one notices, that's the point. This is the belief that grows legs, that walks you back to yourself, that reminds you you never needed external validation. You just needed to remember. What's one vow you've made to yourself and kept quietly? Share it. That strength might be exactly what someone else is searching for. We remember who we are together at Mindset Mastery Hub. Maybe the hardest part of growth isn't what you start doing, it's what you stop believing. That you need to feel ready, that you need someone to validate your direction, that you can only act when things are perfect. But clarity rarely comes before movement. It's built in motion, one step, one breath, one aligned choice. The discipline you're building, it's not just about routine. It's a signal to your future self. I'm not going back. And yes, you'll have days when you question it all. But that's part of it too. Doubt is just resistance to the version of you that's dying. Courage is what keeps walking anyway. You don't need a guarantee, only a process. A way to return to your highest standard, even when everything around you is loud. That's self-leadership. That's the foundation of a mindset that lasts. You won't always notice progress in the mirror, but you'll feel it in the moments you respond differently. When you pause instead of react, when you reflect before you retreat. That's growth. Quiet, daily, powerful. And no, not everyone will understand. But that's okay. They don't have to. This path isn't about perfection. It's about precision. The precision of choosing yourself again and again, even when it's hard. Your discipline is more than structure. It's your soul saying, I'm still building something sacred here. So walk gently, but forward, and let each aligned step become your quiet revolution. You've tried everything, yet the stillness stays. You've reached goals, but not yourself. And in your quietest moments, you wonder, is this it? Here's the truth. Success without self is a performance. And if you're tired, it might not be the hustle, it might be the mask. Napoleon Hill didn't just teach principles. He uncovered the path back to self-command, to think clearly, act with power, and lead your life, not survive it. You're not broken, you're buried. Under pressure, under expectations, under the noise of everyone else's version of enough. But what if you stopped measuring your life in results and started measuring it in returns? What are you returning to? Fear? Busyness? Or something deeper? The life you want isn't built in one leap. It's built in a series of quiet recommitments to clarity, to your inner power, to the version of you that already knows but hasn't had space to speak. That voice, it's still there, not shouting, just waiting. And maybe that's why you're here, not for another tactic, but for a mirror, a moment, a message that reminds you your next level isn't out there, it's already inside you. You don't need to do more, you need to return better. Every time you choose alignment over urgency, you sharpen your success mindset. You teach your system, this is what I believe now, not from hype, but from healing. Because growth isn't speed, it's depth. And real confidence, it's remembering who you are without evidence. So what does this mean practically? It means slowing down enough to hear your thoughts. It means choosing mental clarity over noise. It means asking, what would the most grounded version of me do next? And then doing that. This isn't about fixing yourself. This is about leading yourself with honesty, with rhythm, with reverence. Success doesn't begin when people applaud. It begins when you stop needing them to. Your habits, they're sacred. Your silence, it's strategic. Your commitment to consistency, that's personal responsibility. And if you've lost that for a while, it's okay. You're allowed to pause. You're allowed to realign. But you're not meant to forget. There's one thing Hill repeated across every chapter, every story, every principle. You become what you think about, but only when you act accordingly. So think with care, act with courage, and return daily to the mindset that got you here. What's one thought you refuse to let go of? Share it in the comments. It might just be what someone else needs to begin again. You're not alone. Not here. Not at Mindset Mastery Hub. Every small alignment adds up. That morning you paused instead of reacted. That moment you chose silence over explanation. That night you rested, not out of exhaustion, but respect for your energy. Those aren't weak decisions. They're declarations that you are no longer available for misalignment, that your peace costs more than performance. And if the world doesn't notice, that's fine. Your soul did. Napoleon Hill believed that the mind was not just a tool, it was the first mover. Your outer world? That's just a delayed reflection of your inner dialogue. So shift the script. Say to yourself, I return to myself today. Say it gently, say it honestly, then act from that place, because clarity is built one aligned decision at a time. And one day, without realizing it, you'll look back and whisper, I don't chase peace anymore, I build it. And when doubt returns, as it will, meet it with rhythm. Return to your breath, your values, your one next clear step. You're not here to be perfect. You're here to be whole. And wholeness isn't found at the top. It's practiced in the middle. That's what we do here. We remember, we rebuild, we rise with presence. So if you've ever felt alone on this path, know this, you're not walking it solo. Thousands of us are waking up to this new kind of discipline, the kind built from within.